OpenAI has been involved in a massive lobbying campaign, and also in all of these candidate primaries across the country. AI lobby has been pouring a bunch of money into these elections. Do you think that's ethical, given that those representatives are supposed to be representing the working class constituents in those areas? How do you discuss in good faith with someone like that when they're paying legalized bribes to your colleagues here on Capitol Hill?
Well, that is exactly the point that I'm making.
So that was obviously a drop site news reporter because they asked tough and relevant questions. The AI industry is trying to take over Congress. Their one issue is Bernie Sanders, who's causing them a little bit of trouble. So let's see how they sorted that out. Anna.
Now, to be fair, Sam Altman is worried about two separate efforts to regulate AI. Now, increasing members of Congress are starting to be a little bit concerned with how rapidly AI is developing, and they're thinking about maybe some regulation around the edges. And then you have Senator Sanders, who wants something a little more robust. In fact, not only does he want proper regulations for artificial intelligence, he wants to ensure that we, the people who have fueled the actual intelligence that goes into these systems, get something out of the development of artificial intelligence. And he's about to explain in this next clip what his proposal is. Take a look.
In the coming weeks, I will introduce the American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund Act. This legislation would give the public a direct ownership stake in the largest AI companies in America through a one-time 50% tax, not on profits, but on stock. It would do two extremely critical things. First, it would give the American people a direct role in determining the future of this technology. No longer would the future of AI be dictated by a handful of big tech oligarchs while the rest of the world sits back and watches them do what they want. Secondly, it would guarantee that the trillions potentially created by AI are used to improve the lives of all of us, not simply to make the richest people on earth even richer.
So that led to Sam Altman feeling a little bit of panic. And so he requested a meeting with Senator Sanders, which took place today. And he also requested meetings with other members of Congress who are thinking about doing a shao regulation around the edges, right? So those were the meetings that took place today. And I wanna go to D3 next, because here you're gonna hear Senator Sanders explaining how Altman had requested that meeting.
Who set that meeting up?
He did.
And do you think it was because of this?
Who knows? I mean, what we will discuss is the need for a moratorium so that we can have a democratic debate and discussion about the future of AI. We'll talk about that. We will talk about the need for international cooperation so that we do not have a super intelligence, super AI created, which can escape human control.
I'm just wondering what he's going to say when you, I mean, in your video announcing your legislation, you said the time has come to reclaim what has been stolen from us.
Yes.
Since AI is built on the collective knowledge of humanity, the wealth it generates must also benefit humanity, not just Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos.
That's right.
Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison. You didn't name Sam Altman there, but I assume he's in that category.
Put him in, yeah.
I mean, how do you think he views you saying reclaim what was stolen from us?
Well, I don't know how he will respond. That is my view. That is the foundation of AI. Your program is going to be part of AI. This discussion is part of AI.
Now, we don't know the details of what happened in the various meetings that Sam Altman had today. However, I would guess that he's probably reminding members of Congress of the amount of donor money coming from the AI industry, like that pours into the coffers of these lawmakers. I doubt that would be a persuasive argument for Senator Sanders. I also, unfortunately, don't think that his proposal is gonna go anywhere. But I'm curious to hear what you think, Cenk.
Yeah, my guess is that the only person that Sam Altman had a real conversation with is Bernie Sanders.
Agreed.
The rest of them, he comes in, gives a check. They go, yes, sir, absolutely, sir. And he walks out. You don't need a conversation. The check is the conversation. But guys like Bernie don't take corporate PAC money, so then you got to try to convince him. But Anna, you're right. There's just way too many people. So look, the AI guys now are very similar to the Israeli lobby. They spend tons of money in primaries, and they try to eliminate anyone who is not going to give them massive amounts of money and aid and et cetera, and not get in their way at all. And so they've all learned, and they learned it not just from the Israeli lobby, but from Big Pharma and all the others. If anyone is against you, you spend $10 million, but it's okay because that teaches a lesson to the other 535. They vote with you and you get back 10 billion, 10 trillion, et cetera. So Altman's mainly passing out checks there, but he just wants to make sure that Bernie doesn't get any traction with that, is my guess.
And just to be specific, because I do like to provide the receipts, super PACs funded by the cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence industries have amassed more than $321 million in the 2026 cycle. We're talking midterms, and they're shelling out $321 million on the midterm election. But even that sum of money doesn't really capture how or all the pledged money from the AI industry. So you have something known as the Innovation Council Action. That is a newly formed Republican-focused nonprofit, and it's aligned with the Trump White House's efforts in deregulatory objectives when it comes to AI. And they just pledged to spend $100 million on the midterms.
So I just want to do a little bit of math for you guys real quick. I promise I'll keep it simple. So 321 million, 100 million, these are giant numbers, right? But think about it. So a billion is 1,000 millions, right? These companies are worth trillions. There's trillions on the line, okay? So a trillion is 1,000 billions, which is 1,000 millions.
My eyes are like glazing over.
So
right
do you get that that 400 some odd million that they're spending overall is nothing. It's a rounding error for how much money's on the line. So purchasing Congress in a spectacular fashion is a very logical thing to do from a business perspective. That's why we should end the bribery and get money out of politics. And they talked about that. Dropsite asked Sam Altman about that. And he's like, oh, sure, I would like to do that.
We do have that video. Let's go to D2.
I don't think we've been involved in a massive lobbying campaign. Maybe you know something. I don't. I mean, we've done some for sure, but relative to other companies in our industry, I think we do much, much less.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in elections across the country.
From OpenAI, I don't think we.
From the AI lobby.
But I don't think we've done anything near that. I would love to see money out of politics in general. I think that'd be a great thing to happen. I think that it would need to happen fairly to all companies. You can't just say OpenAI's got to follow these rules and Google gets to follow these or whatever. But yeah, I think less money in politics from companies would be good, and these are the people that should, hopefully adjust that.
It's, hey, let's have a great discussion, but if you end up disagreeing with me, if you go and start really trying to protect the American people, we're going to spend tens of millions of dollars to try to defeat you. And the reason, in my view, that Congress has not stood up for the American people in taking on AI is precisely because of the huge amounts of money. The estimate, again, is at least $300 million in this midterm campaign.
I don't know, maybe some people do fall for Altman's ridiculous lies, but does anyone really believe that Sam Altman hates money in politics? That he'd like to get all the money out? Please. I mean, then how are you, look, one of the things that is, I guess, hindering what these Silicon Valley billionaires want to do with AI is the fact that here in America, we do have privacy laws. We do have some laws preventing us from constant surveillance. And that is a hindrance for the development of AI. Because if you're competing with China, well, China doesn't care about those rights. So China is able to develop AI without that hindrance in their minds. I don't care. I don't care. How about instead of constantly having an adversarial relationship with foreign countries, we find a way to be diplomatic? Instead
and cooperative.
And cooperative, exactly. Like, oh my God, we have to give away all of our rights, our quality of life, our privacy in order to what, compete with China? Why do we have to compete with China on this? Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So I just came up with a really interesting idea in the middle of this segment. I'll get to that in a second. But I want you to notice the trick that he did there. Was it OpenAI that spent the hundreds of millions? No, it was the AI lobby, and we're just a small part of that.
Right.
Literally every AI company says we're just a small part of the AI lobby. They make it seem like someone else, Colonel Sanders, is spending the money. No, you guys collectively are spending that money. And what is it to do? It is obviously to bribe all of our politicians so they work for you and not us. That's not complicated. The only people who missed it are mainstream media reporters. The rest of us are perfectly aware of that. Now, it's a little bit interesting that Anthropic and OpenAI are saying that they should be a little bit more regulated, the industry is, than the rest of the AI companies. So, okay, I'm willing to listen to that and see what the details are. And by the way, that might also be a trick. I'm not saying that it is.
I think it is.
But why would it be a trick to get more regulated? Because they have the money to be able to deal with regulation. But the smaller AI companies might not be able to have enough cash or liquidity to deal with the regulatory issues. That way they kill all the competition underneath them. So you'd have to dive into the details to see which one is true.
I don't trust them at all. Come on.
Yeah.
Let me give you a few details on it. This is graphic 2. In a new policy paper, OpenAI calls on the federal government to require mandatory evaluations of advanced AI models for potential risks. That sounds pretty good, right? But places the responsibility for overseeing that process on civilian agencies. Now, if you just take that at face value, that sounds pretty good. Who determines how these civilian agencies are made up? Who's in the civilian agencies? Do you get what I'm saying?
Of course. Well, I mean, look, the congressmen are going to pick the people that their donors told them to pick. Obviously,
that's right.
But to be fair to them, the other companies are saying no regulations.
Yeah, well, that's ridiculous. But unfortunately, under the current terrible system we live under, they're probably going to get their way. But I think the other thing that OpenAI is attempting to do, Sam Altman is attempting to do here, is he doesn't want regulation either, right? So why not engage in this like kabuki theater where you're pretending to endorse regulation that would really be toothless? I think that's what's going on too.
Yeah, and it might just be different strategies. So now, Bernie Sanders is asking for equity here in return. Oh, I love it when good ideas finally take hold.
For real.
So how long have you seen us on this show say, if you're gonna bail out the bankers, take equity? In capitalism, when you put money into something, you take equity. That's how it works, right?
And the Trump administration has done this with a few US-based corporations.
Yeah, and I give Trump credit for that.
Yes, yep.
That's right. And now Bernie's going, oh, maybe, all right. Anyways, I'm glad he got to it. I'm super happy he got to it. So way to go. And that's a big number that he's asking for, and I like it. It's a good way to negotiate. Okay, finally, the idea that I came up with in the middle of this. So Sam Altman says, no, I'd love to get money out of politics. Would you? Have you donated to that cause? Because you could give it to Wolfpack or any other wonderful organization that's working on it, fightcorruption.us. So I would believe Sam Altman or anyone else, because they can say, hey, listen, I don't want to be at a competitive disadvantage. As he said, Google's putting in, if I don't put in, maybe I'm at a competitive disadvantage. Okay, so let's say you put in $100 million. If you say, I'm gonna put 100 million into this, but also 100 million into the cause to get money out of politics, then I believe you, okay? Put in the same amount to lobbying as you do to getting money out of politics, and that's a standard that I just created that gets us to believe that maybe you actually do want to get money out of politics. But if you put in 100 million into lobbying and 0 into getting money out of politics, then obviously you're enormously full of crap.
Yeah, let's wait and see what happens. All right.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.